I interned at Seattle Union Gospel Mission at their women's shelter called Hope Place. I remember I was in undergrad and I stumbled upon a relevant magazine, and there was an ad in there. It was the Seattle School of Theology and Psychology. So I was like, that's a really interesting combination. So I looked into it on the website, really was into what they were talking about. The idea of the marriage of theology and psychology seemed to really fascinating to me, and it felt like, it's like, okay, I'm going to that school. I didn't really look at other schools because I just knew that's the school. So yeah, the marriage of the two and how theology and psychology informs one another. I've learned that now, being actually at the institution, has been really informative of who I am as a person and who God's created me to be and called me to be. Yeah, that's you do all your first year, I feel like I was just writing stories about my family of origin. Not writing stories, but telling the story of my family of origin. And I didn't realize how important that was to doing the work here, and as far as my professional development and being able to sit with other clients. Because if you haven't sat with yourself and your stories of grief and sadness and of joy and of deep trauma, it's gonna be hard to sit with other people. I'm realizing that. So being able to build a capacity to bear my own past pain, trauma, and be able to sit with that in myself, the self-compassion for myself at the end of the day, gives me even more compassion to sit with somebody else. If you want to do it well, you really have to sit with yourself and grieve. Because if you don't grieve it, you're not really doing the work. I'm realizing how much of my work is so informed by systemic oppression of all kinds of people, and realizing people's needs aren't being met because of systemic oppression is keeping them from getting their needs met, or because of the power structures that are very exclusionary. And as a result, these clients are in my office because of the bigger issue at hand of systemic oppression. These women have been taught all their lives to shrink, be small, submit. You need a man to feel important or to be anything, and you need to be in a relationship, even if it's toxic. These messages have been implanted in these women from such a young age. I even had those messages told to me too, but it was even more heightened with them being in unhealthy environments. It's a very community-based site for women who come out of domestic violence, drug addiction, homelessness, sometimes sex trafficking as well too. And every morning we have a community, devotional together. And then I see clients during the day, or I am helping lead or teach a class. A class that I've been teaching at the moment is called Safe Boundaries and People. And it's just helping these women learn what safe people look like and what safe relationships look like, because their whole lives they haven't had that model for them very well, and therefore they're attracted to people that are toxic and not good for them. So that's been a really cool part of the internship, is getting to teach the class and seeing these women's light bulbs go off, oh, that's what I was going through the past 10 years. So it's kind of a group therapy in a sense, kind of. It can be therapeutic too for the women to be oh, me too, me too, me too. My desire is to obviously continue therapy, but to marry it with other things that I have a really strong desire to nurture the matriarchy. I want to water something so it grows and give that more attention to that, versus focusing on tearing down this thing, which is really important, and it needs to be destructive a little bit, but at the same time too, I want to focus on watering, and that means helping women as far as maybe with childbirth and being a doula. I'm really interested in that. You don't talk about the femininity of God enough. I think God is very hyper masculine in our culture, in the West at least, in Western Christian culture. It's not enough space for the femininity of God in our theology. There's a lot of references in scripture to the femininity, feminine qualities that God holds, and we don't talk about that enough. So I think that's where the matriarchy comes from wanting to nurture the matriarchy more, because it's like I want to nurture the feminine qualities of God too, because we need women, we need people to be nurturers and providers and bring like a secure attachment. I feel like the femininity of God does that very well. You can't do this program without like using your body. Like you need to be all in, like you need to be like present with yourself and present in the process, because the process is really, it takes all of you. So be prepared to give of yourself, of your time and of your energy, of your mental headspace. They don't force you to grow, but like you can't help but grow and be changed by this place. Even if it's like a painful growth and a painful change. I feel like being here has helped me find my voice, and it's helped me to advocate for myself. And what I have to say is important, especially as a woman of color too, and like leaning into that more. And we like need more voices, people who are like confident in their calling and what God has for their lives, and who are committed to wanting to bring justice into our society, like, because it comes from a place of love.